All right, guys, we're on Health Nibble number 40. Let's see, this is a better angle. Yeah, so the sun's not in my face. I think it's 44. I forget what I typed. But anyway, I was preparing for a lecture next week and got my little drive and remembered a lecture I did for the middle school students. So it's kind of a neat situation where we've had dozens of teachers in a corporate weight loss setting, which works really well. So if any of you out there have a situation where you want a group at work, you can reduce the cost of the program and get some amazing results. But anyway, I think that because we've had an influence on a lot of the teachers and staff at DeKalb schools, they asked me to come in periodically to do lectures tying the chemistry and so in this class, it was tying the chemistry to food, which it took me a little bit to figure out how I was going to do that in a way that 8th graders could understand. But once I did it, I realized that, man, everybody needs to know this stuff. So anyway, so I'm going to show you that lecture real quick. And basically what it was I went through the fats, the different types of fats. And the one that's really toxic is a trans fat. Not saturated fat, contrary to what the newest study from Harvard. I'll in a later nibble, I'll debunk that science and tell you where that all comes from. But anyway, saturated fat, monounsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fat, and trans fats. And trans fats are the ones that are brutal. So I'm actually going to flip the screen around today so that you can see this lecture. I just have it pulled up on my laptop if I can figure out how to do this. Good. So basically what trans fats are is anytime you see hydrogenation. So here's your different types of fats, and they look like this with they got a little head on them, a triglyceride head. I don't know if you can see that, and then they have hydrocarbon chains. But anyway, in the science world, so if you're a chemistry person, this is how you shorthand hydrocarbon chains to make it fast. So what I want you to see here is in the saturated fat, it's saturated because there are no double bonds. All right, so this is just a normal squiggly line, and that looks like that. No double bonds. All right, and then a monounsaturated fat, the chain has one double bond, if you can see that right there. All right, polyunsaturated, multiple double bonds. And then a trans fat, trans has nothing to do with like transform. It's actually a chemical structure. So you have cis and trans. But anyway, if you look at these, so when there's a double bond, it kind of makes a bend. So this is like olive oil, monounsaturated. This would be like your vegetable oils. They're polyunsaturated, so they bend all over the place, all right? So this one, no bends because it's saturated. And so it's solid at room temperature and has a higher boiling point. And here's the demon. This we don't find in nature. This is a trans fat. And it looks like our saturated fat, but it's not. This is not one of God's fats. This is a man-made fat. And so this is like margarine. So it looks like butter, but it's actually poisonous. So it lodges in your cells, and when I draw the cells, and I talk about the cell membranes and how hormones and all the nutrients and things can't get into the cell because of toxins. So, you have heavy metals and biotoxins, and you have trans fats. So they lodge in the cells too. And so they look like a saturated fat. They taste better than a saturated fat, and they never go away. So whenever you go to a restaurant and you let your kids get French fries as a treat, know that these things are lodging in their cells and causing diabetes, and then they won't be able to metabolize sugar correctly if they have some, and they gain weight and get cancer and all kinds of stuff. So these are associated with all kinds of things. Any of your deep fried foods have partially hydrogenated oil. Anytime you see partially hydrogenated anything, it has a trans fat in it. So I'll show you. So this is what an artery looks like. So this is, it looks like the inside of your mouth, right? Like a healthy artery. And so this is one damaged from trans fats. So which one do you want? So this is what I gave to the middle school kids. It's pretty cool. Oh, wrong way. Wrong way. Sorry. So these are some of the foods that trans fats are in. So this is one of the reasons why, you know, we have peanut butter in our house, but it's organic peanut butter. So it's just ground up peanuts. Country crock. I grew up on this stuff. And when I was a kid, we were taught that margarine is better than butter because of didn't have saturated fat, which is an absolute lie. It's full of trans fats, which is horrible for you. I mean, it's probably between that and soda. Those are your two worst foods. I mean, and then, you know, any of your commercial breads and things typically have these really tasty trans fats in them, and that's what makes them so yummy. And it makes them last forever. So you could spill a fry in your car, and 5 years later, it still looks the same. I have friends that have done that. And so when you look, see partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, that's going to be a trans fat. So just to give you a little bit about the food manufacturing, basically they'll take like an oil and then they pump a bunch of hydrogen atoms into it, and it partially hydrogenates that oil. And one of the byproducts is a trans fat. So that's usually where you get your trans fats. And those trans fats, like I said, lodge in cell membranes, cause diabetes, cancer, you name it. So anytime you see hydrogenated, you can pretty much assume that there's going to be trans fats in there, and that's a health nightmare. So anyway, there is your, now you know what the DeKalb Middle School kids know. All the 8th graders and 7th graders, or half the 8th graders and 7th graders from last year. And, you know, and I would also say applaud the DeKalb schools for having some progressive nutritional information infused into their kids. I mean, what a great idea. So anyway, that's your health nibble for the day.